Don't mind me, I'm just drowning in a sea of receipts and despair. Hey friends, it's me, Amy Rebecca, your internet bestie for all things personal development, intentional living and dream chasing. My spray tan is all washed off and I'm back to being pasty. Seriously, have I always been this pale? I look like something that should be lurking around in the Edinburgh dungeons. I don't know. Hey, that's the least of my worries, because today we've got a monthly budgeting update and it didn't go well. To the naive version of myself who sat here a month ago and thought that I could make it through a beauty pageant with money left in my bank account, I would like to say, you're stupid. We're gonna break it all down in this video. I'm gonna talk you through what I spent in March, my new very strict budget for April and how I'm going to be making that happen. Then we're going to go through side hustles, we're going to do some cash stuffing, and I'm going to try not to cry. So last month I actually reduced my budget down from 750. I think initially I set myself 600 as the goal, and then midway through the month I increased it, and then I still didn't stick to it anyway. I don't know why I thought the month of being in my first beauty pageant would be a good month to cut back financially. Y'all, it was expensive. And I mean, the expenses just kept coming. Everywhere I turned, more money needed to be spent. It felt like someone had slashed my arteries and I was bleeding money into the streets. Like, I had a good time and it was worth it, but Lord. So let's kick things off by looking at exactly what I spent last month. Take your judging eyes and don't look at me with them. So for groceries, I budgeted £10 and I actually spent £34.21. Because of the pageant, because I needed groceries to take with me. For eating out, I budgeted £15 and I actually spent £27.20 because of the pageant, because I was in a hotel and I needed to eat. Petrol, I budgeted 50 and spent 50. Thank the Lord I didn't drive to the pageant and my mom covered the petrol costs. Car maintenance, I cash stuffed 50. Gifts were just at 30. Some of that was cash stuffed, some of it was spent. Health, I budgeted 34 and spent 145. That was because I had to replace my contact lenses. So I had already cash stuffed that amount to pretty much cover that. Contact lenses came to 110, so I was short by a couple of pound. But yeah, I made up for that again, and I'll show you in a second. I added the cash stuffing back into my income. I know, it's like wildly complicated. Welcome to my life. Beauty treatments, surprise, surprise, budgeted 55 and actually spent £195. I'm just trying not to think about it, actually. Just trying to live in denial. The good thing about that is I was able to cover the majority of that again from cash stuffing. So Lord bless cash stuffing and the fact that I do that now, because otherwise I don't know what I would have done. Clothing, I budgeted 0 and spent 0, but don't get too excited. I spent a freaking fortune. If you were following my pageant fashion drama from like the week before I left for the pageant, when I found out that none of my clothes were going to make it in time, I had to frantically reorder all my different outfits, shoes, hair, everything. Not hair, hair is on my head. I had to rush order pretty much everything and I just put it all on my credit card. That honestly was the most sensible thing to do for me, because I only had a few days to get everything, so I just ordered everything I could find that could possibly be suitable, had it all rush delivered to the house, and that way I could just shop for my living room and return anything that I didn't want to keep. And I couldn't really have done that from my just debit account because it cost like hundreds and hundreds of pounds, but at least with my credit card, like, it got refunded back onto my credit card. But next month we will be seeing the full extent of that, because I think I spent like, I don't know, £250, maybe more. I don't know. I'm scared to look. Makeup, I budgeted £4 and ended up spending £13.47. Skincare, at least I stayed true to myself. I budgeted 0 and I spent 0. Same with haircare, budgeted 0, spent 0. Toiletries, budgeted 0, spent £48.97. Again, because of the pageant. Books, budgeted 0 and spent 0. Takeaways, budgeted 0 and spent £9.99 because of the pageant. I got out of there at like 12:30 at night, and I hadn't eaten in, I don't know, like 12 hours. So the first thing I did was obviously go and get a Domino's and stuffed my face. It was like the best Domino's I've ever had, just in terms of emotional satiety. Anyway, hobbies, I budgeted 200 and I spent 235.63, which actually isn't that bad when you think about it, because that covers a lot of my pageant stuff. Obviously not any of the clothes that I have yet to pay for, but the accessories I had to buy, photos, videographer, oh Lord, it doesn't cover hair and makeup at all. I didn't even put that in my budget. There is no record of it existing other than in my soul, because it was so expensive, and I don't want to acknowledge it. I took that directly out of my savings as like a treat for myself, so it's not really coming out of my monthly budget. But if you do want to know, I did spend £250 on hair and makeup. For context of how much I was walking the streets bleeding money, £250 on hair and makeup. Okay, charity, I budgeted £12.50 and spent £18.50. Transport, I budgeted £0 and spent £10.90 on the train. Trips, I budgeted 70 and spent only 35. I went to Tenby at the start of the month. I'd already paid for the cost of the accommodation, so this was just eating out, and I was really careful to just not spend anything. If I could have maintained that kind of stoic sense of frugality throughout the month, I think we wouldn't be in the situation we're in now. Social, I budgeted 70, I spent 86.35. which isn't too bad. Drinks, I budgeted £0 and I spent 14. And do you know what? I don't even drink anymore, but I don't regret it because it was a very stressful month. That Prosecco wasn't needed. Coffee, I budgeted £0 and I spent £18.45. Again, because of the pageant. I struggle just to live my life in general without getting coffee. But when you're having super long days like that, yes. Was I having 2 or 3 coffees a day? Absolutely. Personal, I budgeted £0 and spent £0, and miscellaneous, I budgeted £0 and spent £5. That was money that I invested into my free trade account, but for some reason when I put my savings in here, the formula doesn't want to work. I have to figure that out. Anyway, with my bills, that brings my grand total of expenses to £1,053.66, which is clearly a little bit over the £600 they initially wanted to spend this month. To be fair, like I said, I did have £225 from cash stuffing and sinking funds to put back into this. So really, I was only £178.66 over budget. Obviously, the vast majority of this money was pageant related, and that's not something I go out and do every month. Who could afford such a thing? You know, I've got a whole different look on toddlers and tiaras now, where those women are taking their kids out every weekend for a pageant. Who can afford such a thing? Also, 5-year-olds in fake teeth and eyelashes. I don't know about that. Okay, so now let's make a plan for April. Obviously, we're gonna need to cut back. I'm going to reduce the budget down to 600. I actually think that's very achievable this month because I've chosen to become a hermit. So we're going to do a £600 budget, and this is how we are going to divide that out. So groceries, I know I say this every month, but I always get questions about it. When I say groceries, I don't mean the whole of the grocery budget for the month. This is just additional things that I pop out and get throughout the week, like snacks or, you know, on top of the weekly shop. So we're gonna say £15 for that. Eating out, you know, I'm gonna put 30, which is quite high, but I'd rather go high and come under than go low and go over, you know. Petrol is 50, car maintenance is 50. Oh no. April is the month that my MOT, insurance and tax are due, and I know I don't have enough in my sinking fund to cover all that because My car had to go into the mechanic twice in the last couple of months. Don't really want to pull money out of my savings for that, but I might have to. When is life gonna stop being so expensive? Okay, gifts, I'm gonna cash stuff 30. Health, I'm gonna cash stuff 35. Beauty treatments, I'm gonna cash stuff 55. Clothing, well, I'm obviously not going to buy any clothing, but I still have to pay for all the pageant clothes. And I feel like, if I had to guess, that's got to be about £240. Like, some of that I can offset with whatever balance is in my Vinted account. But I think that's only about £80. So it's definitely not going to cover it all. Makeup, I've already bought makeup this month. So I'm just going to have to not buy any more. Skincare, you just can't have any. Hair care, I'm gonna need to buy a shampoo bar soon, so let's put that in there just in case. Toiletries, I think I should be good for toiletries. No books for you, no takeaways for you, no hobbies for you. I'm joking, I've already paid for Krav Maga, although I think this is going to be my last month of Krav Maga, just because it is really expensive, and because it's quite far from my house, it takes me about 40 minutes to get there. I'm not going twice a week. Like, it's classes twice a week, in which case that's only £5 a class. But I'm only going once a week, which means it's £10 a class. And then the petrol on top, I don't know. I feel like I've been going for a year. I feel very confident in my ability to defend myself at this point. And I don't feel the need to become like ultimate fighting champion or anything. Charity is £12.50. Transport, I don't foresee myself having to catch a train this month. I'm certainly not going on any trips. Social, I do have to pay off my credit card. I have tickets for Wicked and I don't remember how much they were, but I feel like they were £78. 0 drinks, 0 coffee, £30 I'm going to cash stuff for personal, and 0 miscellaneous. If I stick to that, I will still be almost £100 over budget. I feel like I'm trying to get a square peg into a round hole. This is before we even do my phone and Spotify. That's going to put me £115.49 over budget, and that's before we even begin to tackle the mountain of money that I'm gonna have to start shoveling into all of my car expenses. I don't know, what should I do? Like, sell a kidney? Okay, before you say anything, my mom just brought me this coffee, okay? Okay, so we're gonna move into my side hustle challenge. Full disclosure, not a huge amount was going on there last month because I had so many other things going on. I made another £7.49 through Tess, which is where I sell my teaching resources from when I was in university. And this is true passive income because I uploaded those files in 2017 and I am still making money on them now with no further effort. I do keep saying that I need to get more teaching resources up on there because obviously the more you have, the more money you can make, but I just haven't got around to it. And then I made a whopping 59p on dividends for my free trade stock. For full transparency, because when I first started talking about these side hustles, I mentioned that I was also using Trading 212 and I'm not anymore. I deleted my account because I just really didn't like their customer service. So now I'm just doing free trade and that's working for me. So obviously not a huge amount going on this month, but we will take what we can get considering I put literally no effort into that. So that puts our total at £8.08 for March, which means I've made a total of £71.15 so far this year, and that's 7.12% of the way to my ultimate goal of £1,000 this year. If I want to make that happen, I need to get a little bit more committed. Maybe I'll do that this month since I'm going to be a hermit anyway. Okay, with that said, let's get into my favourite part, which is cash stuffing. Okay, we're going to try the cash stuffing up here today, even though I have no surface to work on, so it's probably going to be a disaster, but let's see. So I have two cash stuffing wallets. One of them is for longer term sinking funds and one of them is for more like day-to-day cash stuffing. So we're going to start with this big heavy one. My £1 savings challenge is in here as well, and it is hefty. Okay, so first up we have the gifts wallet. And there's actually quite a bit of money still in here. There's £42, which I think is probably like the most amount of money I've ever had left over in this wallet. Feels like every single month I'm buying a gift for someone, I don't know. So I'm gonna put another £30 in there. My car maintenance envelope, I'm gonna take this out and count it and just like manifest that there's twice as much in here as there was last month somehow. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, 95. It's not enough. I'm gonna put another 50 in there. Why is owning a car so freaking expensive? Charity needs 10 and my phone needs 15. Okay, that's that one done. Now we've got the little pink one, and in here I have beauty, which is currently looking very sad and empty. We're gonna put 55 in there. We're gonna put 35 into health for my contact lenses, and we're gonna put 50 into petrol, but I don't have the right change. I almost made it through the whole thing without having a problem with change, and right at the last second it crept up on me. Do I have 2 10s anywhere? Yes. Perfect. Okay, so I'm very much going to be living like a hermit this month. I think I might actually do a solid like no spend week where I try and spend literally £0 in a week. Is that possible? Maybe I'll make a video of it. What do you think? Anyway, remember that you are enough just as you are. I love you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.